we in that moment we do not care about anybody else or anything else. If you shake them, it ain't gonna work. You know, you can shout blue murder in that face and just carry on. It will not work. It really won't work.
Hey guys, it's Tom here, and before we get into this episode, I just want to give you a bit of a warning that we do dive into some pretty deep topics here. We're going to be talking about mental health, addiction, things like suicidal thoughts. So just a pre-warning for anyone listening. If you or anyone else is struggling with your mental health or struggling with addiction right now, we will have some links to support and resources you can check out in the show notes to this episode. It absolutely mean the world to us if you're enjoying any of the episodes you've heard so far. If you share this episode with friends, family, loved ones, anyone who you think might enjoy the podcast. Thank you all for your support so far. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back, guys, to episode 7 of the This Could Be Something Interesting podcast. And this is really going to be an interesting one today. We are joined by Alex, who is a self-proclaimed ex-addict, who's come out of recovery and is now campaigning around mental health and addiction. Alex is an absolutely incredible guy with an amazing story, and I'm really excited and honoured to have you on, Alex, and I think this is going to be a really, really powerful episode for people to be tuned into. So I'd love to just kind of open this up to you, Alex, and just give you some space to kind of share your story and the kind of journey that you've been on, and we can kind of dive into that and just open up this discussion in a bit more detail.
Right, so I'll try and keep it brief, because obviously if we go into too much detail, we'll be here all month.
Ramble on.
Yeah. Don't say that, because I love a ramble. Started drinking at 16. It was more of a peer pressure thing, you know, social situations, school friends, etc. You know, not long after that, a few years later, then obviously came cocaine, the use of cocaine. And as soon as that entered my life, slowly but surely it took over, totally decimated me. You know, I've always struggled with my mental health anyway, but then if you put two massive depressants into the mix, you're always going to struggle. Had issues with going out, and obviously I got brutally assaulted, which decimated my mental health even further, dragged me further down, to which point I actually tried to take my own life. Luckily, I was found. I won't go into too many details. I don't want anyone to get squeamish. And then it was a case of, I reached a point. I had a partner, and we had a child together. Relationship obviously broke down, and in 2021, I was weighing everything up, and thought, well, I'm going to lose my daughter if I don't change things. And I had one of those epiphanies that everyone keeps talking about. And I decided to get clean and sober. Now, obviously, I read a book. I'll go into details of the book later, but I stopped drinking overnight, which was amazing for me. And
wow. But
then relapses with the cocaine after that just came, and it was a case of that, you know, that sort of dry sniffing, as they call it, which led to paranoia, psychosis, some very, very dark places.
What is dry sniffing?
So essentially, it's drinking. It's doing cocaine without the use of alcohol. So a lot of people will drink and then obviously use cocaine. But yeah, this was a case of I was not drinking, but then still reaching out for that. I think it was more a case of trying to hold on to that past life. But then But then I found a company online. They do some videos online, and it's relatable content. And saw their videos. I got in touch with them, and to be honest with you, they saved my life. I was contemplating going back to drinking. To be totally honest, if that had happened, I wouldn't be here today, because I was just a mess. Since getting fully clean and sober, I've seen that I've got a purpose, and I've got to use my past experiences in order to help other people. I've been around a lot of ex-addicts and a lot of people in recovery, and it in this country at the minute is shocking. I personally believe there's an epidemic that nobody wants to talk about. And yeah, that's why I started a social media. Well, I'm on all platforms now, but it's a case of I want to try and put up relatable content. And the campaign I'm running is called Get Out the Cubicle. Essentially, it's just to get little stickers put in toilets in every pub across the country. People can scan it, and it takes them to the content. People can then watch the videos and make up their own mind, because the struggle that addicts have is they don't know they've got a problem. And it's a case of trying to switch their mindset in order to make them see that there's an issue there. But yeah, that's the crux of it. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing, dude. And firstly, thank you for being so, open and honest about it. It's like you said before we hit record, like it's one of those things that people, we need to be having these conversations, and it's one of those kind of almost like ugly truths that is very easy to hide from. I found it really fascinating what you said actually about it being a kind of epidemic almost, and I think you're right, like just binge culture in Britain, even with like alcohol, right, which like you say leads into cocaine. It's almost this kind of cultural thing where it is just very accepted. It's not. It's just what we do. It's part of our culture. It's part of our society, and a lot of the ugly side of it does then just go unspoken about. So really appreciate you coming forward and talking about these things. So one thing that I've always been really fascinated with, and I had never been addicted, I think maybe to the same extent that in the journey that you've been on, but even with my own struggles of addiction, one of the things I found, and I see this a lot, is this kind of cycle of like guilt and shame. That's very easy to fall into, particularly, and I found this really interesting, like you mentioned you'd kind of relapsed with cocaine again after you quit drinking, and you quit everything at the time, right?
Yeah, so for first time in 2021 I'd quit everything, alcohol and cocaine,
everything
for 50 days.
So when
and then relapsed.
I mean, that's amazing.
Well, at the time,
to go cold turkey, like to go, it's pretty crazy. And I, like one of the things I found, and I don't know if you experienced this, but like there's, particularly if it's public and people around like, wow, like you don't drink anymore, and there's that kind of now perception. And if you do relapse, it's like, oh my God, like there's almost like you're now crushed by guilt. And then there's this cycle of like, you then want to go back to the drugs because you're feeling so full of shame and so full of guilt. How's your experience of that? And how did you manage to, because you now again come out the other side of that, how did you manage to overcome that?
So, I mean, first of all, it's the sobriety group that I joined. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go into too many details about their program because it is a paid service. So, obviously, I don't want to be giving their secrets away. But it's a case of, for me, when I made that decision in 2021, I started to educate myself on different aspects. So, mindset and the way you set up your mind and your way of thinking. And like you said there, a big word for me is perception. The perception of alcohol and the way you view it and the way you see it is a massive way of trying to almost trick yourself into not accepting it anymore. Also, is nutrition is huge. What you're putting in your body is key. You know, it's like that old saying: if you put shit in your system, you know, you're going to feel like shit. So it's one of them really. But yeah, education and reading and being around the right people as well. So I mean, I made a video about this. It's a case of a lot of people in recovery that can get themselves clean, but if you remain in the same environment and you remain around the same people who are toxic, more than likely you will not succeed in recovery and you will fall back. You have to be selfish, and you literally have to cut everyone off. If you truly want to be clean and truly want to be, you know, make it work, you've got to just let everyone go. It's hard for people to see, though. It really is, because they feel they're holding on to something, but there's no happiness there at all.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. I had a friend. I smoked. I still have a bit of a relationship with alcohol, but my addiction was really with weed. Smoked like a chimney, and I had a friend that we totally fueled that together, and I did kind of just have to abandon them. Really, like, you know, in an unhorrible way. I needed for that to be possible for me to, because we were fueling it for each other.
Yeah,
you know, and totally.
Is that someone I know, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, I wondered what happened with that. I always wondered what happened with that relationship.
Where did that person ever go? Yeah, I know, you know, and I hope they're having a wonderful life, you know, because they're honestly like a fucking great. And I guess that's the difficult part of it, especially in bars. There's community. You know, all sorts of stuff, and there is connections to friends, and those friends might generally have something of value. But if that thing is tied in with something that's totally destroying your life, it's you know, maybe you need to allow that time for it to just pass. And you know, and I hope, maybe one day in the future, maybe we'll sort of reunite, be good friends, you know. And I sort of have some faith that will happen, but I needed to step away from it. I mean, even when I say that, I left that, and I actually still, you know, I smoked weed for a while after that, but that was kind of the phasing out. I think it was sort of that bizarre relationship with it for a while. Like I knew I needed to stop. Until then, I was happy to smoke every single day, baby.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's it. It's the environment. It's the environment thing again.
It wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem because we sponsored it for each other. You know, and in fact, if I didn't have any, you've got some, right? So yeah, I mean, I really definitely get that. You've got to be selfish to, you know, it's a hard thing to do, and especially when it's tied into something like friends and relationships. Yeah.
You mentioned something as well, Alex, in your kind of story about you know, your feeling of this kind of purpose you've got now.
Yeah.
And you know, I've heard this a lot, and I know it's one of the steps from like the, you know, the recovery program, isn't it? Of like, you know, having this like higher purpose and giving back and serving others. But it's such an often overlooked aspect. Like, do you think that has, because what you're doing, like campaign, I've seen some of your posts and your content, and you're literally going round into pubs and, you know, asking them to spread the word and things. Like that's a brave thing to do, right? Like, where do you is that where that driving force comes from? Like this kind of feeling of,
you know, what it comes from,
kind of turn your experience.
It comes. I think a lot of it comes from the pain. A lot of the struggle. I think some of the dark places I went to, I don't, and I tell some of these landlords this. I said, I do not ever want anyone to be in that position, because, don't. You know, it's, I think that's where it all comes from. And since campaigning, since trying to help people, since seeing other people in recovery relapse, I get emotional and angry about it when these things happen, and like something physically bubbles inside me where I've got to do and I've got to change things and I've got to help people, and it's an odd sensation. And like I say to everyone, I'm relentless. I am relentless, and I will not go away. I've been in contact with police force as well to try and get that back in. I'm in conversations with local authority, with the council. In contact with pub watch scheme. I'm just literally unrelenting.
Wow.
And I tell them all. I said, I'm like that itch you cannot scratch. I said, I will not go away. But yeah, like you say, where it comes from, I think massively from the pain and the struggle.
Yeah, I can really tell, like, there's just even from your videos, there's like such a kind of passion and a driving force behind it. Like, it's really powerful. And it is going to help you spread that message far and wide. It's really fascinating, isn't it? How I think you're such a shining example of this, of how, even like the darkest depths of your pain can be turned into something really beautiful. I was actually thinking about this the other day when I was writing a poem about how it's like we got these kind of like the fires of hell, or the depths of hell that we have been to in our own worlds, and how that light from that fire can be turned into a guiding light for others. But kind of first we have to be able to get out of our own hell first, right? Because most of us are so caught up in there, and you've luckily managed to do that, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's yeah. It hasn't been easy, it hasn't been easy, and that's what I try and tell people.
What are your thoughts as well, Alex? Like, I'm sure you've had this a lot with like people you've been people you've spoken to about this since you've been campaigning. But I've always had this real, almost like there's a kind of paradox around, like, as much as, because there are certain things where I've really felt like compelled to help someone. I really want to help someone in a certain situation, but then I also recognize, and when I look back at my own journey, I know that at certain points in my life, nobody could have told me anything, and I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn myself. And that, for me, like, I hate, because and even when I've seen a loved one, for example, who's maybe going through a bad time, going through addiction, whatever it is, and you want nothing more than to help that person. And like you say, I can feel that energy from you where it's like you just so badly want to help them. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you kind of deal with that conflicting?
I mean, you're 100% right. Nobody can ever get clean. Nobody can ever fully step into recovery unless they 100% accept that they've got an it always has to come from within. But that's why I've set it up the way I have, because it's that relatable content where it's almost like I'm trying to talk through the screen to someone, not to tell them they've got a problem, but talk about relatable issues. So then something will go click. But it's very interesting what you're saying. 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's like there was a video with Ben Affleck actually I see recently, and his struggles with alcoholism, and I think it was something like he said, the only way you get to recovery is in the struggle. So you've literally got to hit that most of the time, and I agree with this. You've got to hit almost that rock bottom in order to see what you're going to lose. But what I'm trying to do is try and prevent people and catch them before they hit that rock bottom. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do that. Yeah. But I mean, you've got to try. You've got to try it. I've got to try and you've got to try and change it up, change the game, because I mean,
yeah. But do you know what, dude? I think it's so great how the way you're going about this, because the when you've got that fire inside you, The other way that you could have gone about it is by going to all your friends and the people you know and saying, "Stop being a fucking idiot. Get off this shit." Like, and you know, right? You know that's not going to work. So the way you've gone about it is very smart, because, like you're saying, you're going to the places, the pubs, the places these people are going to almost just put out that helping hand. You're not trying to tell them, "Hey, you're being an idiot," blah blah blah. You're just saying, like, "Hey, if this is how you're feeling, check this out." Like,
100%.
And it's such a beautiful way of doing it. It really is. It's actually quite interesting because it's very similar. So I run a marketing agency, for anyone who doesn't know, and it's very similar with marketing. With marketing, if you try to sell to people, they are going to run a mile.
Yep.
If your marketing feels like marketing, it will not work. If, however, your marketing is relatable and people can get value from it, they can find it funny, and they can feel like they sell themselves on the idea of buying your thing and not that they're being sold to, it will work. And this is exactly what you're doing, right? You're giving people the opportunity to say, "I want to get clean for me," not, "Oh, I should get clean because Alex gave me a lecture."
Yeah. 100%. So, tell you what, I'll be surprised if someone gets clean if I've been talking to them or something. But no, you're 100% right. Yeah. I've even had discussions with landlords where they say to me, "Oh, have you got a poster to put up?" And it's like, no, that's not the point. You have a poster with like stuck the coat and all that, People just ignore it.
Worth a try.
Well, you could try it, but
it's like tobacco.
They'll just take pictures.
Well, exactly with the tobacco industry, that's 100%.
Yeah, so tobacco with a picture, and it's like, "Oh, it's killing me," and they're like, "Is it now?"
They just think, "Oh, I'll have a bit of liver for dinner."
Yeah, it's so funny, and the tobacco industry knows that it's not working. It totally doesn't work, because they want you to still keep smoking. Yeah. And they're like, "Let's put this advert. This definitely doesn't work, but it looks like we're doing our part. But even though we're selling this product, and we really would like you to continue buying this product." Yeah, this smoking's fucking it's wild, and it's sort of like one of those things where just like I stopped smoking, and it's sort of I think it's just by it's not telling anyone to do anything, but when suddenly you start doing something and you're like, "Oh, this person actually seems like way fucking happier," you're not asking anything of them. You're actually just reflecting a similar example. It's not asking anything. It's not telling anyone anything. But I think that does show, and that is from maybe seeing it in real life, isn't it?
Yeah.
When people get to meet you, I'm sure that's sort of like a different kind of reflection, because, especially if you're going to talk about, especially if it's relatable, because I like when people are like, continuously, I've got friends that go out and continuously smoke, and I'm sort of like, I get it. I totally fucking get it. Like, yeah, you when that craving is there, like, I'm not there to say like, that period of time my attention was in that area, I'd agree. It was fucking fantastic. But now I'm just sort of like, I don't have that relationship with it. Don't think about it in that sort of way. And that feels pretty wild. I was sort of like pretty mad that I was spending all this money, and I literally feel, if anything, more confident. I can breathe. All these things that are just sort of like,
you take for granted.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre. Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Alex, what's throughout this kind of journey you've been on so far, what's your relationship been like with kind of self-worth throughout this? Particularly because you mentioned that you started reading a lot of like self-development and some books to kind of open up your mind a little bit. One of the things I found when I started reading those books, I felt really good initially, and then I ended up feeling even worse about myself because I was still I was reading books about self-development and being motivated, and I was being lazy. And then it's like, now I feel like I know all the flipping answers, but I'm not doing them. I'm not following the advice. It's almost like podcasts, right? You got all these health podcasts out, and then you almost just feel more guilty about that chocolate bar you've just eaten or whatever else it is. Like how and then that makes you feel even worse. Like, how's your journey been with that?
not bad to be fair.
Okay.
I think since joining the sobriety group that I'm with, and I still work very closely with them, it's discipline. That's the number one thing, discipline. And we talk about it a lot, and it's a case of even if you don't want to do it, even if you don't quite feel up to it, just do it anyway, and you feel a million times better. It's a real weird one. Yeah, in terms of my self-worth, I mean, I think it's a good thing to kind of talk to yourself. Some people think I'm mad when I say that, but I think it's good sometimes to talk to yourself, and almost like talk to your inner self. And yeah, self-worth wise, I mean, I almost get to a point where I'm looking in the mirror, say, I'm fucking proud of you. Like, yeah, self-worth wise is through the roof. But it all comes from that, and it all stems from discipline. Because if I know I've put the work in, and I know I'm pushing myself in the right direction, I can't do any wrong. I genuinely feel that. But yeah, like I say, discipline's a big one, I think, in terms of that.
Love that, dude. Yeah, no, you've got so much to be proud of as well. So that's amazing. So here's a hard question for you then, right? And you know, maybe you can't even see this at the moment because you've got this discipline. But let's say if you were to relapse again,
yeah, because
your self-worth comes from this place of discipline, like how that's always my worry, and this kind of thing I've had with self-worth over the years of like, you know, we never know what's going to happen any day at any time. Things can happen. And I've always, like, self-worth, I've always found a really fascinating concept because we can tie our self-worth up in anything, right? We can a lot of the time people tie their self-worth up in an identity, in a person that they think they are. And if your identity gets shaken one day, boom, you've just lost your entire self-worth. Yeah. So have you ever kind of thought about that? And because and bringing it back to like what we were talking about earlier, right? When you relapsed the first time, because I would imagine you felt this sense of pride. Like how do you move forward from that when your self-worth has been rocked or your identity has been rocked?
I think in the situation I'm in, I genuinely, I will never relapse. First of all, it will never happen because of what I said before, perception. So perception of alcohol and cocaine. It's the way, I mean, it's just like, I mean, I'm a bit out there when I think about things. So I believe we're indoctrinated into drinking, and obviously drugs are then sold in TV and film, and it's glamorized. So it's rammed down our throat from an early age. I mean, you've only got to look back to the Disney films we used to watch as kids, and it was glamorized alcohol. You know, it's all merriment and all that. So my perception of alcohol is totally different. It's a poison. That's how I view it. So in terms of relapsing, I don't think it would happen. In terms of, say, the question you asked, if, so that big if, I don't think I'd be rocked. Because the only reason I say that is because from the darkest depths I've been to, I've managed to recreate myself. So if something happened where I was knocked off my perch, nothing is ever going to be as bad as the places I was. So I genuinely believe that no matter what I get hit with, I can take it, and I've got an extremely thick skin, and yeah, and it's using the pain and struggle that I've been through to kind of keep myself mentally strong. So I think
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that you're kind of using, it's almost like, you know, it's the compounding evidence that you've had over the years of like, hey, you're still here. You're still standing. You know, there's, I can't remember what that quote is, but there's that whole kind of quote around that, isn't there? Of like, you know, you've won 100% of the battles that you've been through so far just by still being here today.
Yeah.
By being able to have this very thought and to read a quote or to hear a quote like that, to listen to this podcast, you have made it through 100% of the challenges that you've been through so far. If you're listening to this podcast right now, so it's one of those things where it's like, oh wow, like I am actually pretty damn powerful, more powerful than I think.
Yeah,
I think that's a really great way of looking at it, actually.
No, I love quotes like that.
Really awesome.
You know, words are very, very powerful. Yeah, so powerful, honestly. Like, I think that's, I love that. I love listening to motivational quotes and motivational speeches because it always keeps me on my toes, keeps me thinking. So I think it's important.
Yeah, for sure.
And
what do you? Sorry, Ben, go on.
I was going to say,
asking all the questions.
No, that's all right. I mean, I was going to say, in terms of like, where, like you said, like, you know, obviously when you quit drinking and then suddenly, you know, you found yourself going to cocaine, and maybe that was holding on to something. So maybe it was a kind of almost like, you know, all right, I've got rid of alcohol, but no, there's still something I can have. And now that there's none of them, are you finding that there's still, because is there still anything that you're finding is turning into other kinds of addiction? Because I think we all have types of addiction. In many ways, the more extreme ones are kind of a lucky situation because you get to see the repetition. It's obvious. Here's the repetition. I'm doing it. When many people's they have repetitions, and they'll go their entire lives without really recognizing the pattern that they're in. So as much as it might be mild, do you think you still have any other behaviours that are kind of, or where is it? Do you find it still manifesting into something else?
Oh, 100%.
Or is it simply just the,
100% it. So, so you put everything into something else, you become addicted to that. So it's a case, So obviously work's one thing. So everything that I'm doing, that's you know, I'm addicted to that. You know, I'm at the gym about 3:00 every morning. I'm addicted to that. I've got my nutrition. Like I'm so hot on my nutrition, and that's probably the biggest one, nutrition. So when I've got my daughter, trying to stay away from those sweet treats, that's probably the hardest thing I'm not, honestly. It's an absolute nightmare. Oh, don't. You know what I mean?
That's fine.
Yeah, a bag of Smarties. Yeah, no, don't. It's just, it's one of them. Genuinely, I was saying this to someone the other day. I said, I'm honestly, when I've had a bad day, it's a case of, oh God, I could really kill for a Red Bull or something like that.
Sugar's so real.
Oh, don't.
It's wild, isn't it? Yeah. Sugar's, I think
put some hashtag put the Cadbury's down in the pub.
It is definitely an OG addiction for a lot of people. It goes back so far. I think it's that, you know, it's that starting point. I remember like going to the cupboard and like getting a spoon, right, and just getting a spoonful of sugar and just being like,
sugar sandwiches was the one.
But like, it was like a big spoon. I was like, this is so good.
As long as it wasn't a ladle.
It was like sand. I mean, I just think it's such a funny. I mean, I definitely tried to chill the fuck out a little bit now. It used to be Tanfastics for me. The fuck they're putting in those. Everyone's like, oh yeah, the happy world of Haribo. All the people like gurning.
Yeah. Enjoy your E numbers.
That's great. Yeah.
It's a really interesting point though around you know, the addiction shifting, because I guess this is always the thing, right? It's kind of like when you look at where addiction comes from in the first place, it's an escape, right? It's usually an escape from a feeling we don't want to feel anymore. So it is an interesting thought that, you know, when we do overcome one addiction, it's kind of like we end up moving on to the next one. And I guess that even in that, there is also then a risk of like to your point, Alex, it's amazing that you know, you've almost kind of changed a quote unquote, you know, bad addiction into a healthy, quote unquote, healthier addiction.
Yes.
You know, if we want to put labels on things, but that even a healthier, quote unquote, addiction can become unhealthy. Right at the other end of it, you can end up burning yourself out because you are really working hard, and you know, and it's kind of like, well, blimey, like where do you kind of draw the line with these things? It's a tricky one, isn't it, to kind of keep tabs on.
I guess it's that continuous regulation as well, isn't it? It's the checking in.
Yeah.
And sort of like, it's not like, I've done it. And I think that's what you're saying earlier. You know, the guilt about like, oh no, you've relapsed. When it's not like you've done it. It's a continuous, because it's done when you're dead. Then you can be like, like, because it is a continuous, you're going to keep going through that feeling. I mean, I've replaced, you know, smoking, and I've been going for swims in the ocean. And for me, that feels like the opposite. Yeah. I'm breathing rather than, you know, suffocating myself. And yeah, there's no doubt it's an addictive side to it. You know, it's like, especially when I was going down and it was, you know, the fucking middle of winter, and I was going out at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, oh yeah, sweet hit of the ocean.
It's the best
because it was. I mean, it was totally.
That's the best endorphin release.
Yeah, totally. But honestly, I felt so much like it felt like the opposite. That's what I mean by breathing, and through just clarity. I felt sharp, and you know, that's far from sharp when you're high all the time. Yeah.
How do you think or like how do you think self-awareness plays into this, Alex, into the whole kind of, you know, addiction and that kind of cycle?
So from an addict's perspective,
yeah, or even actually even not even from an addict's perspective, even for you right now, being clean. Yeah. Like how, because, and I guess the reason I asked that question, just for context, is I was just thinking as we were talking there about having these other addictions, and like you almost, if you don't have that level of self-awareness, you can end up very easily walking straight into burnout. Because even now you've replaced your addictions with healthier ones, like we were just talking about, you might end up being like completely frazzled because you're hitting a gym every day, you know, you're working so damn hard that one day you just end up like, I'm dead, like I'm exhausted.
Yeah. You know what? It's learning, and it's listening to your body. Like I'm very impulsive as well, so. So there's a guy I work with in the sobriety group, and he literally says things, and then as soon as he's planted that seed in my head, then I'm like, right, I've got to do it now. So, you know, just as an example, the other week he said, oh, I want everyone to, you know, do a little challenge for himself, and I literally said, all right, tonight I'll go run a half marathon, and I swear I literally went out the front door and ran a half marathon. Now, what happened there was I wasn't fully prepared. My knee was shot by the end, and honestly, I was a mess. I couldn't walk. I was a right state. Honestly, I mean, great, yeah, I ran a half marathon, but you know, it was a mess. But it's a case of from those not failures, but you kind of have got to take those moments seriously. And you've got to view them as, listen, yeah, you're doing great things, but you've got to control it. And sometimes you have to rein it back. If your body's telling you one thing, you have got to listen. Because, yeah, like you say, I mean, I've been burnt out before with work and stuff. That's not a nice place to be. But like I say, it's learning. It's learning. You've always got to push yourself, but yeah, be wary, you know.
Also listen to yourself as well.
100%, yeah.
I guess it comes down to what you were saying earlier, right? About having, talking to yourself. And I think that's, as much as like talking to yourself sounds like a weird thing, like it's
Love
so
talking to myself.
flipping important. Yeah, 100%. Because if you don't talk to yourself, like how can you check in with yourself? How can you like stop and like understand how you're feeling? Because that impulsivity, like as someone who was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age, and I'm not on any meds for ADHD, so I still have severe ADHD. I'm very impulsive. And, it was only really when I got into like meditation to start developing this sense of self-awareness. And it's now become more of a kind of an easier state for me to tap into. It's easier for me to kind of tap into how I'm feeling in a certain moment. And I've recognized that when I do get those impulsive things, it's because there is some feeling inside of me, some discomfort or whatever it might be, that and it's so easy to overlook that. It's just like, oh no, I'm just, and to your word of like perception, I would just brush it off as I'm just being spontaneous. I'm just a fun, spontaneous guy, and I'm just being spontaneous. It's very easy to brush it over as that. But then if I'm honest with myself, even spontaneity, when people say they're being spontaneous, usually those impulses come from a place of discomfort of some sort. Now that doesn't mean, oh God, you need to go and look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what's wrong with you. No, it's not about that. But it's kind of like you're always playing with these two forces, right? There's always these kind of scales. And as long as you're aware and you then feel like, I know I'm being spontaneous, and I know it's because I'm feeling a little bit lonely right now, or a little bit upset, or I'm a little bit hurt about this situation, and I'm still okay with this spontaneous thing I'm about to do. Great. But where it becomes dangerous, I think, is where you're kind of doing all these impulsive things, doing these spontaneous things, and you're not being honest with the feelings that you have inside, because they eventually bubble over. And to your point, Alex, they then can turn into dangerous impulsive act. And I think a lot of the time that's kind of where addiction comes from as well, right? And it's why it can be so sinister, because we don't realize why we have... I once heard someone talking about addiction of like, one of the most important steps to even admitting you've got a problem is to understand, like, what are you getting from it? Because you're not just drinking or doing drugs for no reason. You're doing it because it's getting you something. It's making you feel good. It's helping you escape from another feeling you have. As much as you can say, oh, alcohol's ruining your life, drugs are ruining your life. Yeah, but you're doing it for a reason. There is an advantage to it. You have this perception of an advantage, right? Like there's something it's doing for you. What did you find with that, Alex, with your journey? Like, did you ever find what that was, that it was kind of getting you? Like, what were the payoffs you were getting from it?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you to an extent. Yeah, I mean, everyone thinks they're getting something from it. A lot of the time, I mean, yeah, I mean, there were things in childhood, I think, that initially affected me. And what I found, actually, from being in recovery rather than being back then, was every trauma, everything that happened within my life, everything, deaths of family members, deaths of friends, they were usually used as an excuse to get off your head. And when I look back, it's actually quite disgusting to use traumatic events like that to use it as an excuse to get off your face. It's just it's a mad concept to me now. I'm on the other side. But yeah, I've kind of lost my train of thought. But it's just
the bubble.
Yeah, don't.
What was I talking about?
Yeah, where am I?
I mean, it's I guess it relates to Gabor Mate's. What? It's not why the addiction; it's why the pain, right? And that's exactly it. It's, I guess, the attention sort of like in that area, but it's sort of like, and it's the fact that you really don't notice it when you're in the act of an addictive thing, alcohol or whatever that might be, you're thinking, sweet beer, delicious, I love the taste of this beer, or whatever it is that you're doing the repetition on. You're not thinking, you're not thinking about the pain. You're thinking about the thing. It does the opposite. It puts your attention in the opposite direction. I'm not going to look at the problem. You're not going to shine a light on it. I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to use a sedative to, the opposite direction. And I guess that's why it's funny, because you are literally, you're looking in the very opposite direction which you need to. You're like, I'm going to face the other way. I know there's loads of problems over there. But yeah, I know. And it's frustrating because, I guess that's the loop. That's why it goes on, because it's a mentality that you believe it's really about something else. Therefore, you don't see it for a long time. But I think there is something about this. I think that first act, isn't there? That the first act of going like, this isn't good. Something needs to change. I think that as an initial thing. I think sometimes maybe it's said to yourself, maybe for a while, when you sort of feel like you have an addictive tendency. You're like, yeah, no, I'll probably, but maybe you don't ever mean it fully to yourself. I think
whispered.
there is a point where you really... Yeah. They're like, shut up. This beer's delicious.
That's the thing about our minds, though, right? It's like the brain is so almost like cunning, because it will protect those habits that it thinks are keeping it safe, right? And it will protect them as like, we'll make justifications for our own patterns, behaviors, addictions. We'll justify it as, it's the weekend, we're just having a laugh, it's not anything serious.
The ever-going excuse, isn't it?
Yeah, we make all these excuses up, and that our brain will play tricks on us. So it's a really tricky loop to get out of. But I think like taking the time to kind of also recognize like these internal feelings as well is so important, because otherwise I do think there is that risk, to your point earlier, Alex, as well, about just replacing one addiction for another, maybe a better one, a quote unquote better one, but then ending up heading toward like burnout and things like that. So it's this constant thing of observing and talking to yourself and checking in with yourself, right?
Yeah, nobody knows you better than yourself. I think that's yeah.
So true. Yeah, so true. So, what would you say? Like, what's something that if someone's listening to this right now and they are, they are in a place where they're really struggling, and maybe there's something in here that they resonated with, right? And it's like it's hit a nerve or something. I know it's a kind of difficult question to answer, because like we talked about earlier, everyone's at a different stage in their journey. But what would you say, Alex, is kind of what like if someone had come to you and said like, hey Alex, I really resonate with your journey, like where shall I start? What would you like generally kind of what would you generally say to that?
So generally, I'd say, well, you've first of all, by reaching out is huge, and people don't realise how big that is. Whether it goes anywhere, to start with, to first initially see something or hear something, feel that there might be a problem. And to be able to reach out to somebody is massive, and honestly, 3 words that I usually say is, I'm proud of you, because these 3 words for myself growing up, a lot of the time that these words were unheard. And like to this day, I find it difficult when people say things like that to me. I can't take it, but I feel it's important to let them know how that they're on the right path. It's not a case of trying to push them in one direction or another immediately. It's a case of more putting your arm around them to start with, having a genuine conversation with somebody who's been there, and then from there it's a case of we can try and help. But it's that initial, it's no judgment. You've got nothing. Yeah. You've got nothing to be ashamed of at all. And I feel that's the problem nowadays. I mean, you look at the media; they won't even talk about things like this. This won't get usually a story like this, or what I'm doing, it won't get airtime because it's a taboo subject. We don't want to talk about that. That's addiction. Ugh, horrible people. But a lot of these people are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet, who have had serious problems in their life, and they deserve their lives back. Yeah, it's just it really does. It really pulls at me. Do you know what I mean? It irks me, and I get angry and I get frustrated. But like I say, I use it for the right things. But yeah, going back to the question, as I've gone off on a tangent. Yeah.
I think that answer you've given is so coming from a place of compassion. I think that's and almost just like, I really like what you said about not just like nudging them into, hey, yeah. I guess so. The opposite of what you're saying, the thing you wouldn't want to do is kind of say like, about flipping time. Here's a book to read. Here's a course to go and do. Like just giving them advice. Like I really like that. If I've come to you for advice, you're not actually going to give me any advice. You're just going to take the time and the space to acknowledge how much of a big step it is, and just say, look, you don't even have to do anything right now. And I guess it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? In terms of like you don't, because again, this is something weird the brain does. Sometimes we take that first step of asking for advice, but then when people give us advice, we're like, fuck you.
Yeah, what are you all about?
So I really, it's very, very smart what you've done in terms of like, you're just like, cool. You don't have to do anything. So you're kind of making them come towards you, because again, I think that's such a fundamental part of change, is when people come to, like you said earlier, people have to come to the decision themselves. And what you're doing in your response there is you're giving them that space, making it a safe space, making them feel proud, building them up so they can come to that decision themselves. I think that's so powerful. And on the other side of that, Alex, and what, like, if there's someone listening who maybe has a friend or a family member, a loved one who is struggling with addiction, how can they best go about it, right? Because this is often where you see a lot of and it's like we talked about earlier, where it might just cause an argument. They might, and especially with people that are close to us, because it comes from an emotional place where we can get angry, we can get upset, like that, and that can be difficult. Like, what's the best thing they can do in that position?
I mean, there are services out there, but also it's very, very difficult, because I've had partners of addicts message me as well. So it's a massive part of addiction as well. There are families being ripped apart up and down the country because of addiction. And I've had people talk to me, and it's a case of, I'm blunt and I'm honest. I tell them how it is, and I try to make them see from an addict's perspective that we are selfish. We are so selfish. In that moment, we do not care about anybody else or anything else. And it's also a point of trying to get across to them that if you shake them, it ain't going to work. You can shout blue murder in that face and just carry on. It will not work. It really won't work. And it's a case of trying to not push services, but it's almost trying to dangle a carrot in front of their face, without being I don't know, too pushy or persuasive or, you know, in your face with it. It's because, like you say, it's a case of they have to see it. But this is what I tell some of these partners. It's a case of I'm really sorry that you're going through this, and I do feel your pain. They have to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
If that means, yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. It is, you know, like I said, there are services out there. There's also a book that I'm going to read from a doctor in California. Actually, he sent me a link recently. He got in touch with me about a new book he's written about how to talk to an addict if you're a partner, and how to try and help them towards recovery. So I'm quite looking forward to reading that, because I think that could be a very important book. But yeah, very difficult for partners. And like I say, it's being honest. I've got to be honest. And from an addict's perspective, I think they take some solace in it, knowing that I've been there and know that what I'm saying is true.
Yeah. No, I love that, dude, and I think that's because you know, it would be, and because I guess these people are looking at you like, oh well, Alex has done it, Alex has overcome it, so why can't you know, such and such, and it almost kind of puts you in. They're coming to you of like, what did you do? What are the secrets? But like you said, like, you had to come to that place yourself when you were ready to come to it. Like, you can't force that on someone. Like, if you don't mind me asking, Alex, you've got a daughter, right?
Yeah.
How was that for you? Like, were you with your partner at the time?
So I was with her at the time, and but you know what? I look back now, and you know,
was she kind of pressing on you to kind of
100%, and I can see why. Looking back now, I can see why. I could see why there were arguments. I could see why we were falling out all the time, because of me. Because I was selfish. I was self-absorbed. I didn't see anything else apart from drink and drugs and being around that environment. And it's, you know, and that's one of my biggest regrets is, you know, I never wanted my daughter in a broken home. I never wanted to be a part-time dad, because that's what I feel like. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets, you know, when she was younger, wasn't present. But where we are now is where we are. You just got to kind of move on with it and see the best in everything, and see the positives in everything. Yeah, it's a difficult one, you know. Like I say, I've big regrets there, but yeah, it's making the most of everything now.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And I think, you know, you mentioned earlier about that kind of word of like, I'm proud of you. Like, I've no doubt your daughter is going to be so proud of you, and like the work you're doing now, and, you know, and the journey you've been on, and you know, speaking about all of these things, it really is amazing. So yeah, man, look, where can people, if people want to kind of learn more about your campaigning and what you're doing, or how they can potentially like support with this, like, what have you got, like a website people can check out, or I think there's a hashtag you mentioned as well?
Yeah, so no website yet, but it's coming. But yeah, I mean, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. Just literally search for Addicted to Recovery, and then obviously the main page is
we'll put the
links on Facebook.
In the show notes as well.
Yeah, so the main page is on Facebook, Addicted to Recovery, and yeah, the campaign is under the hashtag Get Out the Cubicle.
Amazing, man.
Yeah,
all
wicked.
right, well, look, thanks so much for coming on. I think this has been really, really awesome. And we'll put, Alex, if you want to share some links with me afterwards as well, like any services that you'd kind of recommend for people as well. If anyone is struggling, we'll put the links in the show notes to this episode as well, so people can check those out. But yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on, dude. It's been amazing.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, nice one.